Welcome to another edition of Madman with the Show, Summer Edition. Uh, you know, there's a lot been going on as of late, and we've talked about censorship. We've talked about these age verification laws, online censorship bills. You heard what's going on in the United Kingdom right now, which is frightening. 1984 V for Vendetta type situation that has been going on in the UK itself. Those same people are trying that are here as well are trying to do the same thing here in the United States. It doesn't matter whether you're on the left or you're on the right. It basically all comes down to, how far radical they are when they're making these decisions. Because basically, you have to remember, they're saying they're to protect the children. Protect the children.
Oh, won't somebody please think of the children?
Yeah, that's right. That's what they're trying to do, but it's all a lie. But before we get into this, I just want to put this moment and tell you, hey, listen, join the movement. Join with us. Check out our gear shop, shopcuticast.com, where we have a great line of t-shirts out there, from our Madman Cafe shirts to our anime censorship, anti-censorship shirts. Our Stay Curious, Stay Informed, Stay Mad shirts are also available, mugs and everything else that are available to it. Right now we have a 10% off that's going on right now for the rest of the summer. That's right, 10% off of the price on there. Yeah, the price is up there a little bit because of material costs, but it's well worth it because you need to gear up and stand out in this time period. Be sure to use the promo code Stay Mad, and you'll get that 10% off at your checkout right there. Join the movement. Fight against censorship. Proceeds to what we make on these shirts go to help to keep the lights on and to keep this movement going on the internet. Because there are those out there that want to shut us down on there. So remember, gear up, stand out, join the moment, shopcuticast.com. Yes, once again, shopcuticast.com. Stay mad, get that extra 10% off. Hey, it's the summer. You might need a t-shirt. You definitely need a t-shirt. Maybe you might need a mug. Never know. So, basically, if you haven't heard of Indiana Senator Jim Banks, he's been in the news as of lately. He's been trying to push certain bills for children. One of them is against, of course, obviously, for mutilation of children, those injections and stuff like that, when they're trying to convince children that they're confused of what they are, who they are, male, female, the banks on that, to the situation, which is, and I tell you, don't harm children. Plain and simple. Leave the children alone. Stop sexualizing them, And I agree with that on the senator's end, but unfortunately, while he's pushing that in the front door, in the back door, he's trying to push censorship on the internet, disguised as an anti-porn bill.
I fucking knew it! Oh!
See, you have to remember one thing. Anyone telling you that they're trying to protect children from pornography online, they're lying to you. Because it has nothing to do with that. It has to do with what is online. Information. Hackers will tell you all the time that they're trying to protect the information out there. Make sure the information gets out there. It belongs there. Remember the movie Hackers? Hack the planet. It's the truth. It's the truth to that situation. We say join the movement on our shopcuticast.com because, we say stay curious, stay informed, stay mad to that situation. Let anime speak. Say no to, to censorship of anime, manga, because they want this gone. They don't like the Japanese media because it's embarrassing Hollywood. They don't want certain content because basically it puts them in a bad light. To that point, you're seeing already situations in New York, California, Chicago, whereas that there are some nefarious things going on that is harming our Constitution or in the case, our republic. That's to that point. Now, XBiz has a great, Rick Lewis put out an article recently on XBiz. Yes, it's an adult site. It is a news site for pornography and anything within that range. But they give good articles when it comes down to censorship, especially stuff from the Free Speech Coalition and the ACLU. So let's read into this just a bit. I'm going to give you just the whole basis to this situation. U.S. Senator Bill Banks of Indiana, who last month urged the Department of Justice to ramp up obscenity prosecutions, on Wednesday introduced a bill that will make age verification by adult sites federal law. See, they say obscenity prosecutions. Always remember that terminology, because it ain't the pornography. It's what they consider obscene. They want us to go back to the original, era, whether it's the obscenity laws or the laws that were in Hollywood that basically, that it just basically, you couldn't do this, you couldn't do that, the Hays Code, which I say today we're in Hays Code 2.0. Continuing on, S4741, titled The Safety and Age Filtering Enforcement for Kids Act of 2026. It's always, they put kids in the name of these acts because they want to frighten you to that situation. Or the Safety Kids Act of 2026 would require websites to age verify users if more than 1/3 of hosted materials deemed by the Federal Trade Commission to be sexual material harmful to minors. Now, here's the thing. They say sexual material. Don't disregard the harmful stuff, because that's what they say, it's harmful. Sexual material. What do you deem sexual material? Okay. Of course, yes, pornography. Shall we also put a ban on Netflix and all streaming sites because they carry movies maybe like Caligula? Like the Brian De Palma movies like Dress to Kill and Body Double? Or maybe some of the late night movies that are aired on Cinemax back in the day when they used to call them Skinemax. Red Shoe Diaries, for example. Yes, that that has sexual material in it. A lot of movies have sexual material in it. So you're going to ban that, and they say according to the Federal Trade Commission. See, right now the Federal Trade Commission needs to, and also the Supreme Court needs to put a stamp on this that basically says, no, let's stop this. Stop these obscenity laws. If you don't like this, be sure your kids, that you are adults. You don't need to be taken by the hand and tell you, that basically, we're going to shut this down because you're not doing your job as a parent right. Do your job as a parent. That's all. That's the simplest thing ever. That's the simplest tool to protect your children. Be a parent. And remember, some of these homes are fatherless homes. They don't have fathers in them. That's the major issue that you got to talk about, the nuclear family. Push on that to return the nuclear family to its strength once again. The bill, continuing on, the bill largely resembles various state levels AV laws. And the reason why is because it's the same group of people that are doing it, like Morality Media, aka NOSC, of course, and many others outside of this country as well, in the UK and in Australia, but includes a triple threat enforcement regime. If the bill were to become law, it would not only enable the FTC to pursue civil penalties. Who does that sound like? Who does that sound like? Whoa, wait a minute. Does that sound like Ofcom? That they're trying to make the FTC an arm like Ofcom? Reading on, pursuing civil levities against alleged violators would also allow the Department of Justice to pursue criminal charges with knowing violations punishable by $1 million fines and 5-year prison sentences for company officers, directors, or employees. Yes, definitely sounds like Ofcom. In addition, the bill grants a broad right of action so any citizen could sue site operators for damages. See, once again, situations where parents need to take responsibility for their children. For many years now, we've seen many lawsuits, and I keep bringing this up: the Judas Priest lawsuits back in the '90s, where Judas Priest was sued because two young men decided to basically self-delete themselves, and they happen to be big fans of the band and their parents, and I'm sorry that they passed away and all that, but their parents try to blame the group because they said, oh, in their lyrics it told them to delete themselves, which was a fabricated lie. As much as they tried to push experts up there, it's not the words that they were hearing. It's, sometimes people hear things differently when it comes to music, where they think this word's in there, but actually you should read the lyrics themselves. It's the same thing with Twisted Sister, which they thought that it was basically one particular song was about S&M, where actually it was one of their band members was ill and was going to have an operation, and basically he was afraid to go under the knife on an operating table. It's funny. It's funny on that. Pornography has become a signature issue for banks, who in May urged Acting Attorney General Todd Blanche to reestablish the Department of Justice defunct obscenity prosecution task force in a letter repeatedly conflated with obscenity with constitutional protected speech. Obscenity is protected by the Constitution. Okay, you don't like something, fine. Don't see it. Don't let your kids see it. That's your decision. If a parent wants to let a child buy Call of Duty, a video game, that's their objection to that point. If they want them to see an R-rated movie, that's their situation to the point. I always say, sit with your kids, see what they're watching, find out why they like it. That's all. It's very simple to that nature. The Safe for Kids Act has been referred to the U.S. Senate Committee on Commerce, Science, and Transportation. Whether it gains traction may depend in part on how current efforts to enact broader online safety legislation plays out. The proposed Kids Internet and Digital Safety Act, Kids Act, see how they every online safety codes and all that, they always direct it and they put it kids, and I keep saying that, which would likewise make age verification by adult websites, federal law, appears stalled for the moment and has been vocally opposed by some 44 state attorney generals who argue that protections are too weak. Actually, it's more like too broad to the point. If that legislation fails, the federal AV rule could still be addressed separately via Banks' bill or on the Screen Act, which similarly proposes a federal AV mandate. However, the Screen Act has so far failed to advance. Yes, it's failed to advance because there are people that are doing their job in Congress that basically seeing this for what it is: censorship. That's right, censorship. It violates our Constitution. You have a lot of these politicians throughout the country, especially places like Utah, for example. Utah happens to be the center of the whole situation when it comes to age verification laws. They're putting a lot of emphasis on Christianity to the point, even though the radical Christians are involved in this, but the Mormon religion is involved as well. And also outside interference from the United Kingdom by people with money in the United Kingdom, and also over in Australia itself, like groups like Collective Shout that have been working with people here in the U.S. That's outside interference. If they worry about China spying on us, coming into this country, a situation affecting our policies, they should worry about Australia as well and worry about the United Kingdom. There was a joke on South Park, which basically it was sort of like a 24 parody. If you remember the 24 series with Kiefer Sutherland. And you find out at the end it was our greatest enemy that was coming for us. And it turned out to be the United Kingdom, which was the joke. We saw these ships with guys dressed up like revolutionary soldiers aboard old type ships from the Revolution War. Even though that's a joke, but still, you got guys over there like Keith Starmer, to the point of many others that are pushing regulations in their country that's putting, they're trying to fine companies here in the U.S. for stuff that basically is against their regulations. And they can't do that because it doesn't violate our law. It doesn't violate our Constitution. But yet they want to fine them. You got 4chan that's been fined, I think, $500,000. I think it is. It's 500,000 or 500 euro dollars, something like that. It's ridiculous. Meanwhile, that report that came out about assaults and stuff like that, which they're not paying attention to, it is a nightmare within itself. There is situations growing in their country. A revolution is growing in their country. If these age verification laws, online safety bills take away a lot of our First Amendment rights, I'm sorry to say, you might see something similar here. People are not going to stand. You see it in the elections. They're trying to, there are those who are trying to fix the elections to the point, and I'm not talking about fix them for the better, that they're trying to keep their power, stable in this country that they've had for quite some time. But now the truth is out, even by people in their own party, people who have voted for them for years, realizing it ain't the problem on one side of the aisle. It's the problem on the other side of the aisle. And there's some on vice versa that is a problem as well. Those need to go. That's the swamp in itself. That's the stuff that, this current president is talking about, the swamp. Those people need to go. They've been in office too damn long, and they have made a ton of money. So let me know in the comments below. What are your thoughts about this? Is this another bill to try to push censorship? Will it advance? Will it not? Let me know in the comments. We're waiting for SCOTUS to finally put its stamp down against age verification. Hopefully we will hear from that soon. There's one case specifically on voting we're waiting to hear as well. So don't forget to hit that like, share, and also hit that subscribe button. Yes, it's right down there. Very simple. For some people, they call it, it's very evil. No, I'm quoting Danhausen. It's very simple to do. It takes nothing to do. It doesn't cost you anything. It helps us move in advance. But if you want to go further, as we said in the beginning, you can check out our gear shop. Check it out. Right there. Some of the proceeds come to help keep the lights on here, bring you more programming on there. Don't forget to check out all of our affiliate partners there. Check us out on Mad Matt Cafe every Tuesday, 3 p.m. Eastern with our panelists. We got some great content coming up very soon as well. So join the movement. Stay curious, stay informed, and most of all, stay mad. And we'll see you on the next one. Bye-bye now.
Check out all of our affiliate partners and subscribe to their channels.
Thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe. See you in the next video.